This is a conversation with Meghana Mundkur. She's a radio presenter, actor, director, and counselor. She's currently the co-host of Drive Master Gogo on City 1016. In addition, she's also starred in numerous theatre plays and short films in Dubai, and also the movie Beneath the Sea of Lights alongside Barkad Abdi and Jim Sarb. In this conversation, we discuss growing up in Delhi, getting into radio, the mystery and the aura behind radio presenters, and mental health. This is no time. If you like what you see, then do hit subscribe on YouTube. Smash that button. Follow on Spotify or rate 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. This project continues to take a lot of my time, money, and effort, down to our last pennies here. So if you'd like to see it continue, do consider making a donation on Patreon. Thank you to the people who continuously do so. For other forms of love and support, you can follow this channel on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, Reels, whatever new social media platform that comes up next, or Facebook copies. Or you can follow me personally. And now, hi guys, Hrithik Roshan. Absolutely fantastic. You're listening to No Time. Most people in their lives wear many hats, but you said that you wear many masks. So my first few questions, I'd like you to put on the mask of childhood memories.
Okay.
Make sure it's on.
Yes, it's on.
So you grew up as a single child. Your mother was very worried about you because you were very serious, very silent, and very comfortable with your own company. Incidentally, serious, silent, and comfortable. These are three words that people never use when they're talking about the city of Delhi.
This is true.
So looking back on your childhood, how do you view this contrast between your own personality growing up and the personality of the city that you were growing up in? And what elements of that childhood have stayed behind and continue to shape who you are today?
So, first of all, I really want to know where you get how you do your homework and where you get all your research from.
On Drive Master Gogo on City 1016.
Really?
Yeah.
Did I talk about this on the show?
You might have, right? Every day. Do you remember every day what you have said on radio?
No. Okay,
Right?
point.
Possible.
Okay, point.
मैं 3 साल से prepare कर रहा हूँ इस episode के
Oh,
लिए.
अच्छा.
One day she will come on the show. तब से.
Wow.
It's like डर ना. Movie देखिए हर जगह posters लगे हैं, newspaper.
Meghna?
And वो pins लगे हैं, thread इधर से उधर.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're actually giving my character some depth, which it really doesn't have. But yeah, anyway. So childhood. So the thing is, I was in Delhi till my 7th standard. And then uske baad, I shifted to Indore, which is in Madhya Pradesh.
Yeah.
So I think my childhood was an amalgamation of how modern Delhi was. And at that time, when I shifted to Indore, it wasn't the most modern city. People from Indore will be like, what? It wasn't. It really wasn't.
I don't want hate mail.
I also don't want
Yeah,
any hate
Indore
mail.
से मुझे नहीं चाहिए.
Yeah, I also
comments.
don't want. I mean, never mind. Basically, when I moved to Indore, it was a bit of a culture shock from Delhi.
Yeah.
I was silent because I was the only child. So I think it kind of comes with that particular territory because you're the only one who's going to entertain yourself. So I learned very early on to read a lot of books. Which I am extremely grateful to my mother for because she made sure that I was surrounded by books at every point in time and all sorts of genres and all sorts of subjects and all of that. So I think that's where it comes from. The fact that I was an only child, the loudness of Delhi did not I didn't soak it in. Although my friends will disagree when I say I'm not loud. Because I am sometimes.
Subconsciously might have been within you, and now when you came on radio, suddenly that loud.
I mean, there are
fun side.
times where I
Yeah.
talk on the radio or if I'm talking to somebody and if they know that some part of my childhood was in Delhi, they're like,
We knew it. It all makes sense. It all fits in.
Bangalorean and all is just a
Yeah.
farce. You're actually from Delhi.
So which city do you connect with the most? You did move to Bangalore as well. And you've described that when you were growing up in Delhi, you were in the Dev Anand Kishore Kumar phase. And then when you went to Bangalore, you were in the Def Leppard phase because the Bangalore mentality kind of swarms you. Which city in India do you feel like you resonate with the most now, or Indore as well?
Bangalore, for sure. Also because whether I was in Indore or whether I was in Delhi, we used to go to Bangalore for summer vacations. So it just became a thing. It became the place that I wanted to head to. Like my entire childhood goal was how do I get out of where I am now and how do I get to Bangalore? So Bangalore, for sure.
I'm going to ask you the toughest question of this interview. So I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay, wow, so soon.
Yeah, we starting hot.
Okay.
Yeah. What is the one place in Bangalore one restaurant or one food item that people have to eat?
That is tough, huh?
Of course, मैंने one भी किया.
Okay, I'm forgetting the name of the restaurant, but it's on Church Street. Okay, can I pick two?
Pick 3.
Okay,
Even
I'll pick
better.
2. There is a cafe which is probably as old as the city. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's called Koshi's. So everybody must go to Koshi's and have coffee there. I've been doing it ever since I can remember. We used to go to at one point in time, the coffee was 10 rupees.
Yeah.
And as college students, you can't even afford 10 rupees ka coffee, right? So we used to go and we used to split one coffee amongst 4 of us. It was great. And we used to sit there and the waiters used to let us sit there with that 1 cup of coffee from, say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 8 o'clock in the night. So Koshi's, and then I'm forgetting the second restaurant's name, which serves amazing appam and fish curry.
Now we need to know.
Coconut Bay? No.
गलत नाम नहीं लेना. कोई उधर रेस्टोरेंट बैंगलोर में सडनली 10 लोग आ जाएंगे and they will be like हम तो अपम देते भी नहीं.
Church Street पर है. Okay, we'll come back to that. If I remember it, I'll come back to that.
Let us know.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
this is very important. This is
Done.
the most important question.
Most important.
इसके आगे अब it's just all.
Yeah.
This is done. Yeah.
Who needs to know about me as a person?
No, that's not what I meant. But okay. Okay, so now you can remove the mask of childhood memories temporarily, and we can put on the mask of dramatic pause, radio.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seems like you're very excited about this topic.
I mean, also, the mask of radio is kind of like always on.
Always on.
You put a mic in front of me and the mask of radio is on, right?
Interesting. Let's see if we can actually get the real Meghna, even though there's a mic here in this room. But for now, let's put the mask for radio.
Okay.
So you've described a relationship with radio as an arranged marriage. You got into radio first and then you fell in love with it. You went for an interview to a radio station in Bangalore for a sales assistant and ended up doing a voiceover and then ended up getting the position.
Yes, correct.
And then you've said that even though you got into radio, you try to leave it and go back into marketing.
Yep.
But I'm going to quote you word for word. You said something about radio drew me back.
Yes.
Now you're almost going to complete 20 years in radio in a few years.
Yeah.
Looking back now, have you been able to figure out what it was about radio that drew you back and what continues to drive you today?
I think it's the performance angle of it. Because I've always been a child of performance arts, and I cannot do without performance arts. Radio, to a very large extent, is performing every time the mic goes on. By performing, I don't mean being fake. I don't mean doing something that is not natural or is not authentic. I just mean you have to make sure that just with your voice, so it's only audio, you are putting a smile on someone's face. If it's not a smile, you're getting somebody to think about something that they probably hadn't. You're making somebody's day better. You're playing a song that they really, really wanted to listen to. Or you're just making somebody feel like they're not lonely. So I think that connection and the theater of the mind, because it is theater of the mind, right? You're drawing a picture with just your voice. I think that's what drew me back and continues to draw me back and continues to keep me in love with radio.
Drawing a picture with just your voice, it's a very beautiful visual. But just before that, I have a question on, a lot of people say, kafi industries mein they say it as well, ki just be yourself, be who you are,
Correct.
be real.
Correct.
And it's always good advice. But do you think on radio, there's a very fine line between being who you are and also exaggerating your personality slightly more? Ki I would assume the Meghna that comes on Drive Master Gogo is 10% happier, playful, more optimistic, because you can't walk around always that happy, right? So you need to find that fine line between being yourself, but also creating a certain persona that's slightly amplified further.
Absolutely. I think also because if I've had a really bad day, I cannot turn on the radio and tell you about my bad day or not sound enthusiastic about being there, because you've tuned into the radio enthusiastic about being there. And I'm just like, yeah, guys, and I had a really bad day. You're going to turn me off. So I think that's when just a little bit of exaggeration and a little bit of shifting gears comes into the picture, but not inauthentic. I think everybody who tunes into the radio, if they hear a voice, you'll know when I'm being inauthentic. And that's when you're like, shut up. You're not like this.
Right. So there
is a very fine line.
Okay. So I want to revisit the line you said, drawing a picture with just your words.
Yeah.
So radio is all about just using one sense to make people laugh, tell stories. When I was young, I used to religiously listen to City 1016. And RJ Tia used to be this fun elder sister, fun auntie. I don't know if she liked that term actually.
Don't call her
No. Sister, elder sister. That's what I said. We'll cut that part.
Yeah.
Anyway, but this is long. This is 2005-6 when we first moved here. And you've also got a background in psychology. So maybe you can put that mask on as well for this question because I need some advice. So you've got 3 masks on now. So I feel there's something about the human brain that when you hear a certain voice, it cannot exist in your mind without a face to it. So you always create some face. And back then, social media didn't exist and we were kids as well. You didn't really go and seek out what people look like. The radio presenter's voice is always just the voice that comes on the radio. And you have an image of them. I think I remember it was probably 11th or 12th, the Facebook aa gaya tha, and at a certain point, I went out to discover what all my favorite artists look like. And while they're all extremely beautiful people, way more beautiful than the image I have in mind, it's still very different from the image that I've created, of course. It'll be psychotic if I could have actually imagined what they exactly look like.
Yeah, that would be a bit like
That
weird.
would be a bit weird, right? But I remember the day I actually saw who they are, that day it stopped being this like a personal connection, personal bond that I had with this fun sister and the image that I had in mind. And then, of course, I'm not saying they shouldn't, but they obviously post pictures of hosting other events, or hanging out with their family. Then it just feels like a human being who's doing another profession. Of course, it's a very selfish relationship in the first sense. But I remember the day I actually saw a picture and then I went back to radio to listen to them. It was that new face that was talking. And immediately there was a disconnect between, this is not my Tia, this is someone else. Do you think this is... Okay, let me frame 2 questions from this. The first is, in our current age now with the influx of social media, everyone's got a very strong digital presence now. And it's unavoidable and everyone should, right? So you have the Instagram, you're posting pictures, stories every day, everyone's very connected. Mostly people know what you all look like now. Even radio itself is now promoting it. So do you think that kills the aura or the mystery behind a radio presenter that might have existed in the past, in the 70s and 80s, when people used to listen to radio and they had these personalities that used to come on, never knew what they looked like? Do you think it's taking that part away, or I'm just hyping it too much and in fact this digital presence is how it enhances what you do on radio?
So I think taking the aura part of it, I think what's happened with the aura of radio is that it's evolved. So I think the aura of radio has changed. That time where you didn't know what a radio presenter looked like is long gone. But now I feel, and contradictory to what you've said, if you are listening to somebody on the radio, you really want to know what they look like, because then my connection to you increases. Because you're not just this floating voice in my car or at home or on my laptop. Now you're a full-fledged human being with feelings and emotions and hair and eyes, and that makes you a lot more accessible. So you're a lot more relatable and not aspirational. And when you're relatable, you're more of a friend and my equal than somebody that I revere and look up to. And I'd rather be your friend than somebody that you look up to. Because I'm a flawed human being and you're a flawed human being. And I'd rather we connect on that level. So I feel like when you can see somebody, that it puts that into perspective, that kind of equality. When you see my life on Instagram, you're like, oh my God, she has bad days as well. Oh, okay. So it's okay to feel bad. Like it's okay to talk about anxiety and it's okay to talk about depression because she is talking about depression and anxiety. Okay. So I think this relationship of equals sets in when you can see somebody, and in the digital era, as much as the trolling and the cyberbullying and all of that is part of it, you learn how to navigate through it. But I think majority of it is, if I can see you, I can be a better friend. I think that's how it's evolved. That's how radio has evolved.
It is a very interesting evolution, not just in radio, even in acting. You see this happen all the time. In the past, actors had this mystery behind them because they hardly gave interviews, or you hardly saw them in the public.
Right?
You only saw them on the screen, and then you thought the person they play on the screen is the person they are. And even now, let's say Ranbir Kapoor's a famous example, but he still says he wants to maintain that superstar aura that the actors in the past had, where he doesn't give many interviews, doesn't have social media as well. So I'm clearly, for some reason, maybe it was the reading aspect of it as well, that creating this visual that I have in mind makes it a lot more personal for me.
Oh, okay.
When, let's say, when you read a book and you have an image of it, that's suddenly it's the way I viewed Harry Potter. But the way, and when I watched the movie, I was like, these guys are not, they don't know what it is.
No, I get what you're saying. There's always an element of being disappointed with what you've envisioned to what you see. I had the same problem with Harry Potter, and I keep saying, if you're a fan of the books, then you're a fan. If you're a fan of the movies, then no, you have no idea what you're talking about. But I think that's just, it's a dance that as a radio personality, you've just got to learn how to deal with it. People might be disappointed when they see you and go, oh.
Doesn't even have anything to do with how you look.
No.
It's just that the image that they have is so different.
Exactly.
This is the story actually I was telling you before, is that when I used to listen to radio religiously in 2005, City 1016 mein there used to be the show AJ the RJ.
Right.
And he used to talk like this. This is not my way of speaking. And it was this very impressionable way of speaking. And he also used to crack a lot of lame jokes. And that was his thing. Yeah, ha, ha, ha. He had this laughter behind it.
Right.
And the rumors, the wives' tale was that AJ the RJ wasn't a real person. It was one of the existing RJs who was putting on a persona for a different show. And me and my brother used to always have this, "Kaun hai AJ the RJ? Who is this?" And he used to always come on at the same time. And even now, like me and my brother, it's become a lame joke voice. So we still go back to it. And whenever we remember it, there's a part of me that's dying to know who AJ the RJ was.
I don't know who AJ the RJ is.
Yeah, I'm not asking you to reveal the secret also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then there's a part of me that never wants to know who AJ the RJ was, because in that way, it remains a special visual I've created in my head, and also this secret kind of visual that me and my brother share, or even some few other people who have actually heard the show, when we can be like, oh, yeah, the Dubai mein AJ the RJ, and then suddenly high fives are going around. You don't want to break that. You don't want to break that fourth wall at all, right? You always want to maintain that mystery. Do you think that's fair?
I think that's very fair. Like I said, there's always an element of disappointment. And like you said, it's got nothing to do with the way a person looks. It's just that your imagination was just so much better than the reality. And somewhere you just want to preserve the imagination because it's a lot more innocent, it's a lot more childlike. And I will not be disappointed if I hold on to my imagination. So yeah, I get it. I hear you.
Speaking of people you've never met and creating a personal bond with, you've had a beautiful letdown in your life.
Yes.
So you were in 7th grade, I believe, when you found out that the man you thought was your father was in fact your stepfather.
Yeah.
And your biological father had just passed away.
Yeah.
And over the years, you've built a visual of him from the memories that you've heard from your mother, all the stories that you heard of him. So much so that you've said that you find that you often relate with him
a lot more,
and you also miss him, despite the fact that you never actually met him or spent time with him. So do you think this discussion that we had about radio, does that also extend to your own personal life? In the fact that obviously both you and me wish that you might have had a normal relationship, quote unquote, or had gotten the opportunity to spend time with him. But the fact that you didn't also allows you to create this very unique and special bond with your biological father. And that's more yours and you feel closer to it, which is probably why you call it a beautiful letdown as well.
Absolutely. I think I call it a letdown because I never got to meet him. But there's always this part of me going, if I had, would he have been as great as he is in my head? Yeah. Everything that I've heard from his friends, and I've met quite a few of them, he was and he probably would have been as great. But I think a lot of what I said, absolutely, you're right. I think it comes from, I have such a beautiful picture of us in my head. Not actual picture, but just in my head, I have such a beautiful picture of him and I. Yeah, I don't know if the reality would have been as beautiful because you never know, right? There's so much humanness that comes into reality. And you see the not so good sides of people because in your imagination, I don't know why we do this. We eliminate flaws in our minds. Like this person has got to be perfect, but there is no perfect person. So yeah, I think a lot of it comes from there. Definitely.
it's a similar concept of just wanting to keep that
Yeah.
that image perfect how it is in your
Yeah,
mind.
like don't taint it. Don't do anything to spoil it. Let me just hold on to this because it's a lot. It's easier for me to deal with as well. It's easier for me to deal with the absence. If what I fill the void with is just my imagination, it's easier for me to deal with it. So just let it be. Yeah.
Definitely a very special relationship that you share with him. I had Roshan Abbas on the show earlier this year.
Oh my god.
And he had shared a story when he was on air that a woman had called him and said, "Why do you guys lie so much?" And it was apparent that at the end of the broadcast, she was going to take her life. And Roshan Abbas said that anything I might say might be considered as a lie. So I'm going to ask all the listeners to pour in. And there's an outpouring of support and messages for the lady. So by the end of it, she said she was uplifted by all the support that poured in. And then Roshan Abbas said, I won't say anything because whatever I say might be still a lie. So I'm going to quote Ernest Hemingway. And he said, "The world breaks everyone. And afterwards, many are stronger at the broken places."
Oh, that's beautiful.
I think even you were on radio once when a boy called you who was about to jump from a terrace as well. And just speaking to you at that moment gave him a reason to give the world another chance, another reason to live. Why I bring up both these stories is because a lot of times actors, performers, they downgrade what they do. And they say that what they're doing it's fake, it's just putting on a show, we're just playing a character, we're just telling stories, just making people laugh. And it's nothing compared to what doctors do, surgeons do, soldiers do, firefighters do. But I actually want to push back on that rhetoric that actors do. And I want to check if you agree as well. Well, I feel that the work you do, you actually change lives and you also can change the world. Do you think this is a fair assessment to make?
As a performer in general, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely can change the world in various ways. I think it's for me, how do I put it? Okay, if I am in a sad mood, I will listen to a sad song, not to make myself feel worse, but to make myself feel like there's somebody else who's gone through this. I'm not alone in this. Somebody gets it. If there's a sad song that makes me bawl my eyes out, it's because I'm like, oh my God, this man or woman who's singing sees inside my soul and knows exactly how many pieces my heart is broken into. This is amazing. And the healing happens and da 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 da. I feel like as performers, that happens with our performances as well, because you're vicariously living through, not vicariously, maybe that's a wrong word to use, but you're living through another person. Whether that's laughter, whether that is drama, whether that's tragedy, whether it's comedy, whatever it is, I feel performers wear their hearts on their sleeves, and that gives the rest of the world permission to wear their hearts on their sleeves as well. I have no idea if I'm making sense, but
You are? I'll stop you if you're not making sense.
yeah,
Don't worry.
but I think that's how performers change the world, by being brave enough to shed masks and put on new ones and shed masks and put on new ones and be different people every time they're performing, which means they cater to practically everybody who's watching them. And you never know. When you're watching a performance that moves you, you don't know what you're doing to the person who's watching you. You don't know how you've shifted a mindset, or something's clicked in their heads, or they were depressed but now they feel a bit better watching your performance, or it's a night of comedy and they had a terrible fight at home, but now everything just seems fine because you made them laugh. So yeah, I do think performers can save the world as well.
Wearing your heart on the sleeve is a lot more evident in theater, which you
Yes.
do as well.
Yeah.
But we were talking about being on radio, and it seems like in radio, even though that is a different form of portrayal, but it seems in radio you have to appear happier and you have to always be positive because people might tune off. Why do you think that disconnect exists between other art forms and radio, where in radio it's always viewed as this very positive art form, but in theater it's okay for you to go watch a sad play and cry and come out of it, or watch a happy play and laugh and come out of it?
I think because radio is more a media than it is an art form. I think also with theater, when you pay for your ticket, you know exactly what you're paying for, right? If you're buying tickets to a tragedy or a sad play, you know you're going to go there and you're going to watch a sad play. But radio, you're watching it. I'm going to give you examples of, listening to it when you're going to work. You're not going to watch a sad play first thing in the morning. Right? So you want happy people in the morning. You've wrapped up a really tiring day. You're driving back home. You don't want somebody complaining about their lives when you're tuning in. So you want some amount of positivity and energy and happiness. And that's not asking for much. I think that the disconnect is with theatre, you know what you're paying for. You've done your research. You've read about this play, or some friend of yours has told you that it's a fantastic drama about couples who are getting divorced. You know walking in, it's going to be about divorce and drama. But when you tune into radio, you want entertainment and you want positivity and you want information. Information, news that you can use, all of that. So I think it's not a disconnect. I think that's what the difference is. Theatre is an art form. Radio is media. So it serves very different purposes.
Do you think this difference will persist over time? Or do you think you might, like podcasts now, you see exploring different themes? Do you think radio might have suddenly like a much more mellow shows? You already have them at night. You have Raat Ko Ghazals and all this. So do you think that will branch out even further?
It absolutely could. I think also because digitally, there is so much more out there, right? And so many more choices now. So absolutely, radio still caters to that. You want to talk about addiction? There are podcasts for addicts. But what I'm saying is those podcasts have a title and they have a description. So when you're tuning into that podcast, you know what you're tuning into. Terrestrial radio, which is what we listen to when we're driving, is blind. Because before my show starts, it's not going to tell you what's coming up. It's when I open my mouth at 5 o'clock in the evening, do you know what's coming up for the rest of the show? So when I'm going into something blind, I don't want to be surprised. I just want to be entertained. When I'm driving back to work or I'm going on a sales call and I've tuned into the radio at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
This is a very intriguing aspect. Maybe your background in psychology can also tell. Why is it so that if you want to be surprised, you want it to be a positive surprise? You don't want it to be...
Why would you want it to be a negative surprise, right? I don't know how equipped we are to deal with negative surprises as human beings. Yeah. We're just not conditioned for it. If it's going to be a surprise, I want it to be a surprise. I'll put a smile on my face. I don't want to be in tears at the end of it because I wasn't prepared for it. I think that's the problem with being uncomfortable with anything that's difficult in life. We're not prepared for it. If I knew this was coming, I would have been better. Would you have though? I mean, would you?
I'm with you. I like positive surprises, but there are people who like horror movies. So, I've never seen the point. Why would you willingly
want to scare yourself?
Yeah,
Isn't life scary enough?
Yeah, exactly. नहीं आज हम डर के आएंगे.
So, yeah.
Okay, so let's put on the mask for mental health.
Okay.
You've been a very strong advocate for mental health and you've been quite open about the challenges of depression. So taking you back to that boy whose life you saved, metaphorically when you were at the edge, what pulled you back? What was your RJ Meghna that helped you cope with this world?
I think honestly for me, it was therapy. It was therapy. By the time I had come to that edge and by the time I was at my lowest in at the depression, of my depression, I had isolated myself. I had purposely withdrawn from people. It also had something to do with an awful, toxic relationship that I was in at that point in time. So that didn't help. And that person that I was in the relationship with did not help me cope any better. He made me worse, actually. Which is when I realized, okay, I'm alone in this. I've got nobody. I need to go see a therapist. So my therapist was my RJ. Like he was the anchor where it was he weighed me down in a good way. And then I could just like flap about and do whatever I wanted. But I knew something was holding me down. So I think therapy, for sure, just conventional therapy.
Do you think you have emerged stronger at all the broken places now?
100%. I think Rumi also said, right? the wound is the place where the light enters you. And I think that it's phenomenal. And it's so true. I don't think I would be the person that I am if I didn't have the broken places that I do.
Yeah, you've mentioned in the past that you think you've become a better actor because of
100%.
how does that, when did you start seeing the change? How did it help you become a better actor?
I think it's life experiences. You get to, as an actor, when you're given a character to build, you have so many more life experiences to tap into. So, especially if I'm doing a dramatic piece or a dramatic play, I mean, when the director says, go to your dark place. Only one director has ever told me that. He was a really bad director. But when the director asks you to kind of tap into, if you're a real or a method actor, whatever it's called, if you're the kind of actor who taps into something that's happened to you, I have so much material to tap into. So that makes me a better actor. I've also always used theater as therapy, as escape. So when I walk into rehearsal, everything that's happened outside of rehearsal switches off. I think that makes me a better actor as well, because I need to switch it off. All my anxiety has to stay out of these doors because there is no place for it here. So because theatre has become, or has been, a safe haven, I think that made me a better actor as well, because I focus so much more. There's so much more concentration in the moment. So yeah, because of those
This
reasons.
ties into the very common saying in our theatre, which says that great work or great art comes from great suffering.
Yeah,
So you clearly an agreement.
I do agree. I really, really do. Not taking away from people who are fabulous actors who have not had a difficult childhood or have not had a divorce or whatever. That doesn't not make them good actors. It's not like I have an edge over any other actor. No. I just, in the capacity or the resources that I have, it helps, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be something negative, because let's say to understand true happiness,
Yeah.
you need to have experience in your life to give it that depth, right?
Exactly.
So you're in strong agreement of it.
Yes.
Interesting. You directed a play called Dinner with Friends in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe 19. The intern who fact checked this is going to get fired tomorrow.
Sorry.
You've caused this. I think you also acted in that play as Karen in 2003.
Yes.
So there's a 16-year gap between that. Did you ever have this moment when you were directing the play, this very absurd moment that at one point you were acting one of the characters and then you returned as a director, also going through a separation in your own life at that point, and the play is about separation? Did you ever feel like in a way you had lived one of the arcs and then it was challenging to not allow your personal life to mar what you were doing on stage?
It did. Although it helped, I think I was a better director. Of course, I was a better director for it. Because the nuances of what happens to couples when they're separating or when they get divorced, I just had more knowledge. In 2003, I was a kid trying to play a woman. And I don't think I had the depth at that point in time. But when I was directing Karen, is when I was like, this is what I missed back in 2003. So what I missed, I can now put into the play in 2019. But there were times where, especially really, like, by intimate scenes, I mean heavy conversational scenes, where I had to hold myself back because my first instinct was, no. But that's not how couples argue. Except in my head, I'm going, you mean that's not how you argue? Or that's not how you just finished arguing with whoever you were arguing with? These are actors, you've got to let them be. So yeah, there were moments, but again, I think life experience by 2019 had taught me enough to, the inside and the outside voice, there was no overlap. The inside voice remained the inside voice. So what came out of my mouth was, oh, that's good. Instead of going, that's not how I would have done it.
Do you think about this often, that your perspective changes in life and suddenly the same play that you watched maybe 5 years back now suddenly means a lot more to you or has a completely different meaning?
I think it happens with books as well that you read, right? It's this the stage which you read it, how receptive you were. I also think we're constantly evolving. Like every day we're a different version of who we were yesterday. There might be the slightest thing that shifted, the smallest, the most negligible thing that shifted, but we weren't today what we were yesterday. So imagine 5 years later, right? Reading the same thing. I think there are some times where, have you ever gone back to your old Facebook statuses and read?
Embarrassing.
Yeah. You're like, what?
Yeah. I didn't have Facebook when I was that young.
Yeah,
Sub
please.
delete ho gaya.
Lies.
Life starts from 2015 or something. I was born then. Everything else has been removed. But sorry.
So yeah, exactly, right? So when you look back at, I don't know, even 5 years ago, I look at my Instagram page and I look at pictures that I've posted 5 years ago and I was like, what is that? What is that framing? What is that light? Why didn't you edit it properly? I didn't know 5 years ago how to put up proper pictures on Instagram.
Damn, that harsh, huh?
Get that. I actually am. I'm very hard on myself. Before anybody else has the opportunity to be hard on me, I've got it.
You've
It's
already
fine.
been like,
I've scolded myself. It's fine.
What is that? What is that frame? What is that lighting? Sab kuch.
Yeah.
Ouch. Itna bura nahi. I was young and foolish.
I was young and foolish.
Yeah,
Still am.
Playing Candy Crush.
I still am young.
Of course. Before we start wrapping up, I would like you to interpret what you have built with the Lego here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, let me just put this piece.
Finishing touches on this masterpiece.
Yeah. So many of them don't even like connect with each other. I don't know what I've done. But yeah, please tell me. Oh, Freud, what do you think I have done?
You're supposed to tell us.
Oh, I'm supposed to tell you. No, I think you should. Your engineering brain, I think you should like do your thing.
Kisne bola main engineer hu? Just say on my face.
I think you mentioned it once.
Mention. Looks like a ship actually to me.
Ship.
Doesn't it?
Actually, it does. You're right.
No, but what were you thinking of?
No, honestly, I wasn't. I really wasn't thinking of anything when I was building this.
Could also be a tap.
A tap?
None.
Oh, so this goes up and the water comes out of here.
One of the
Then what is
modern
this?
taps. Right?
What is this then? These two things.
वो side में soap का नहीं होता?
Acha, dispenser type thing.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's unfinished.
Then what is this?
Okay. Oh,
These also
tissue
don't
box?
connect.
They can all connect differently and make something else. Give me your suggestion. What do you think that is?
I honestly don't know. I really don't. I think they're just floating bits of, you can turn them into whatever makes you happy.
Floating bits that turn into whatever makes you happy is the best one. I think it's the greatest one so far. Okay, so final questions. What are some books, movies, and people that have strongly influenced in your life?
Ooh, okay. Let's start with movies. Good Will Hunting has influenced me greatly. I can watch it over and over and over and over again, from a filmmaker point of view to a performer point of view to just an audience watching it point of view. Sound of Music had a great influence on me as well, because one of my happiest childhood memories is watching Sound of Music and Mary Poppins and that entire musical genre. In terms of books, I would have to say possibly all the psychology books that I have read so far. Then you've got Shantaram. I don't know if you've read Shantaram. Shantaram had a really good... I remember finishing it during a holiday of mine in Sri Lanka. And it was just great. Instead of... Again, it was the time of my life which was extremely... I was content. And I think what I chase most in life is contentment and peace of mind. And I think Shantaram was that. Harry Potter. I mean, it just goes without saying. My aunt, my mom's sister, gifted me Prisoner of Azkaban. So I actually read Prisoner of Azkaban first. And then I went to Philosopher's Stone and then...
Which is your favorite one? This breaks friendships, man. This
so
one question.
I've answered this question many times. It changes because I read Harry Potter so often that depending on the phase, the mood, where I'm at, my favorite keeps changing. So it'll be Deathly Hallows 3 months ago, but I'm reading Goblet of the Fire now. And that's great. Prisoner of Azkaban was my favorite for the longest time. But I think that was more nostalgic because I started with Prisoner of Azkaban. So it keeps changing. I think my favorite keeps changing. I do not like the movies very much.
Yeah, no one. They're not allowed actually on the podcast if they say they like movies.
Yeah? Okay.
Immediately it ends.
That's good.
Oh, and role models.
My granddad, my mom's dad. I've never had celebrity role models. My granddad was that person. Okay, so I still am very rarely people's favorite. I really am. I'm very rarely somebody's favorite, but I was my granddad's favorite. And I think that just he made me feel so special my entire life. He was also that stable father figure that I've always looked for and craved for and wanted. I think he filled a little bit of that gap as well. So my granddad, for sure. I just wish he'd lived a longer life, but yeah.
Surprising to hear you were not people's favorite. 1 million people in Dubai might disagree that RJ Meghna from Drive Master Gogo is not their favorite. What has been one of your favorite celebrity encounters?
Celebrity encounters. Okay. So, it wasn't through radio, but my aunt, my mom's second cousin, my first cousin, is married to Aamir Khan. Kiran Rao is my aunt.
We know the names.
Yeah. So I was invited for their wedding reception to Bangalore Club. And all I was thinking of at that particular point in time was I have to go watch one of the Harry Potter films that released with this friend of mine, Vivek. So I have gotten ready, and that's all I want. All I want is to finish this reception and go watch Harry Potter. Yeah, so what if Kiran's gotten married to Aamir? I've got cooler things to do in life, okay?
Khan.
Whatever.
Super.
Yeah. So I've gotten to Bangalore Club. Yeah. I'm wearing a sari. I've gotten out of an auto with the paparazzi going, and I'm like, really? You're going to take my picture while I come out of an auto? Okay, that's great. I go in, I've posed, Aamir and Kiran are standing at the back. Nothing, I'm unaffected. Then I go and serve myself food because I'm like, khana kha ke, that is the time I can get out of here, right? I've shown my face, I've taken picture, khana khao, chale jao. So I picked up the plate of food and I'm eating. And Aamir is standing to my right because he's finished eating or whatever and he's putting his plate down. So he looks at me and goes, hey. And I'm like, hey. He's like, so how was the food? Do you know what I say to Aamir Khan when he asks me how the food was at his wedding reception?
Huh? Is that what he said?
That's what I said to him.
Translator.
Yeah. That's what I said to him. Yeah. So he's talking to me and I go, I put the plate and I run for my life because I don't know what to do. Because I think suddenly my brain's going, God, that's Aamir Khan.
Abhi tak we haven't processed.
We still haven't processed it. I mean, also, which is pretty much why he doesn't know that I exist in his family. Because I'm the girl forever who said to him. That's my favorite celebrity encounter. Something your research did not tell you.
Yeah.
See? Yeah. I'm proud of myself.
Aamir Khan is next on the show, so when he comes, definitely going to ask him. My next question, what is your most embarrassing moment on radio? So slightly different, radio. I think. Yeah.
On radio? I think it would have to be... So once Lokesh and I were doing something and I was at the console. So Lokesh and I keep shifting turns on who's going to sit in the console. So you're in charge of switching on and off the mic. I forgot to switch off the mic. So what I was doing was I was making fun of the song that had just finished playing or we had introduced. And I was doing a really bad impression of it. Like I was singing in my loud, squeaky chipmunk voice.
Which song was it?
I cannot remember. And Lokesh was laughing. Both our mics are on. And then suddenly I look onto our messaging service and it says, Meghna, you're cute, but your mic is on. And I was just like, what? So for a good 20 seconds, it wasn't that bad, but for a good 20 seconds, acha sa gana chal raha on City 1016, and then you can hear one chipmunk singing at the back, which was me.
it is bound to happen at some point, right?
It does.
Yeah.
It honestly, it does. All the radio presenters who've ever said it doesn't, it does happen.
Yeah, it is like a passage, like a rite of passage. You have to do it at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, better this chipmunk voice than something else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Get it out of your system. I
And
think.
Lokesh and I talk about the most scandalous things off air. So for us, it was like, okay, at least this went on and none of the other
The
stuff.
law of averages worked out in your favor.
Exactly.
You have mentioned RJ Lokesh brings out the ghatiest side of you.
He does.
Yeah. So thank-
I think he brings out the Delhiite in me.
the Delhi?
Delhiite?
Delhiite
He
in
brings
me,
out the
yeah.
Delhiite in me.
Clearly. Thank God it was just a chipmunk sound. Okay. What is your favorite moment on radio?
Oh my God, but there's so many.
It's a tough show. I can't change the question. Okay, what are your favorite 2, 3, top, whatever comes to mind?
Oh my God. Dude, there are too many. They are...
One memory that just stands out. Doesn't have to be the best. No pressure. Just one that came to your mind the first.
I think for us, or for me, actually not for us, I think every time we speak to a listener and without us prompting and without us giving a prize in turn, when they say that, guys, you make our evenings when we're driving back home, I think those words, I think it's because it's validation, right? It's like, oh my God, somebody's listening to us and you like us when you listen to us. Because we've learned how over the years to read your tone of voice on the phone. I feel like radio presenters are really good at picking up people's tone of voice, whether you're faking it, whether you're being genuine. We've got it. So I think those genuine moments of them saying, I can't drive back home without listening to you guys. I think those are some of my favorites. Apart from the celeb interviews and the big giveaways, I think it's these smaller ones that make so much more of a difference than anything big or a big interview or any of that. It's the smaller ones. It's the everyday small moments that you get. Another really small moment is if we're calling a listener up and they recognize you immediately. It is such a high. Yeah. It is such a high. And the excitement in their voice, like, oh my God, like you're calling me. And I'm like, yeah, it's just me. Yeah. You know, because my instant reaction is like, yeah, it's just me. But just the love that I get from the other side, even those small moments, it makes me smile. It makes my day. It turns it into something that it wasn't before. So
I'm sure you get loads of those moments every day, given the show that you host. Okay, last 2 questions. What would you like your legacy to be like?
I want my legacy that, you know, that quote of people don't remember the things that you said, but they remember how you made them feel. I think I want my legacy to be Meg's. You know, she always made me feel good about myself. And that could be through theater, that could be through films, that could be through radio, that could be through counseling sessions, that could be through just a coffee that you've had with me. I think that's what I would want my legacy to be. Of when I leave you, I've left you feeling good about yourself and about just life. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking as someone who does listen to you frequently, you are definitely building that legacy. You do make a lot of people feel happy, and you do make our toughest hours the most bearable.
Thank you.
The
That
traffic
means a
and
lot.
the rush hours. Especially,
Thank you.
salute to the guys who do the Dubai Sharjah ride every day.
I
could.
swear, I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
I
think
really
because
don't
of
know.
you, they're able to do it. Otherwise, मैं तो नहीं कर सकता.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Last question, Meghna. What do you think is the meaning of life?
I think the meaning of life, and I'm going to quote, I don't know why I'm giving you so many quotes today, but it's one of my favorites, is we're all just walking each other home. And I love that, because what that basically means is that we're in it together. And I think the meaning of life is that we're literally just walking each other home. So whenever you do interact with somebody, be kind. Not if they're being an ass to you. Can I say ass on the show?
I'm not sure who told you. ये cut करना पड़ेगा. Can't air it.
I mean, if they're being...
You can.
Oh,
This
okay.
podcast version.
That's fine. If they're being mean to you, then of course you don't, then you walk away from that person. But I think the meaning of life is that we're just walking each other home. So just kindness and compassion and just understanding. And I think we need that now more than ever. I think it's become also COVID and this pandemic has made all of us, I don't know if you felt this, everybody's on edge. Everybody is just waiting for a fight and waiting to disagree. And everybody has an opinion, which everybody does. But opinions have become facts as opposed to just being opinions. Like if this is your opinion, it's not fact. That's your opinion. This is my opinion. Yeah, I think that's the meaning of life. Walking each other home and being nice to each other while we're walking each other home.
It's a great meaning to have. If people want to connect with you, listen to your show, watch one of your plays, or just connect with you online, where can they do so?
So my Instagram handle is Meghana Mundkur. That's Meghana Mundkur. All the information of upcoming shows, films, plays, all of that is on there. And if you want to listen to us in the evening, then just tune into City 1016. That's 101.6 every evening.
1016. That's the one. Always can't say it normally. Do listen to Meghana and do connect with her on Instagram. Meghana, thank you so much. It was an honor talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. This was so much fun.